Next up, we have our friend, Natasha Crain. Natasha, how you doing?
Hey guys, I'm doing well. How are you?
I am great. Greg, are you doing well?
We're celebrating here, talking to important people in our lives and people who've had close connections with us at Stand to Reason. And so we're glad to have, finally, a female point of view.
Yeah.
We've been talking to all these guys. There's just been too much testosterone. One thing I'm interested in, and this is, I can't actually remember this, and maybe you can't either, but answer one or of two, or maybe both of the questions. The first time that you and I met, the first time that we said, hi, I'm me, you're you, kind of thing, or your first encounter with Stand to Reason, and maybe those were together. I don't know your history there. I'm a little curious about that.
I think I'm pretty sure that the first time that we actually met in person was at Cross-Examine Instructor Academy.
Okay.
Several years ago. Probably it would have been 6 or 7 years ago.
Was this
that
when
we
you
met.
were actually a student there? Is that right?
So yeah, so I think I'm pretty sure it was the year that my first book, Keeping Your Kids on God's Side, had come out, and so I had the opportunity to go as a student, and it might have been the year after that when I got to know you more because I came back as an instructor.
That's
at that
right.
point.
It have been
and that
ever
was the first
since,
time that
yeah.
Yes, and so I think that was the first time that I actually got a chance to talk with you for a
Right.
bit
Cool.
at that first Cross-Examined.
What about Stand to Reason, though? Had it been on your radar before that, before we kind of got to know each
Yeah,
other?
absolutely. Yeah, it definitely wasn't an out of nowhere. This is Greg Koukl. Oh, who's he? No, it wasn't like that at all. I definitely knew about Stand to Reason as I had come across many articles, especially because I wasn't like a big listener to things at the time, but I was a big reader. And so I really came across a lot of the content that you guys had online back when I was first getting into apologetics, learning what it was, looking for questions that I was getting asked on the blog that I had at the time. And so I came across a lot of content online that Stand to Reason had. So it was an honor to meet you and talk to you when I got to cross-examine at that time.
Well, what's interesting for me is that, and we were talking about this off the air, that you and Elisa Childers have been kind of my guardian angels at events, because we do a lot of things together, like, for example, with Frank Turek, and have done other things. And the thing that most people don't know about the three of us is that we have this introvert kind of stream through us, you know, and I'm hard of hearing, so we stack up at the end of the table, the long table, when we're all at the dinner, and I have my guardian angels, Elisa on one side and Natasha on the other side, and they guard me from having to interact with people I can't hear anyway. So we're just kind of
Well, it's our joy to act in that capacity for you, Greg.
And if someone tries to say something to you, are they like they're kind of translating? You know,
No,
here's what they said, or
I don't know. Maybe sometimes that happens, but no. So I'll be friendly and talk to people. But there's just this little sense that it feels safer
Sure.
at the end of the table with my guardian angels on either side of me. So, thank you, Natasha, for guarding me.
It is our pleasure and joy.
Well, we had some questions for you, Guardian Angel.
Okay.
And
Yes, you can always call me that from now on, actually.
Sure.
GA,
yeah.
Yeah,
my
GA.
GA.
We're here reflecting on 30 years Stand to Reason, and it's a big anniversary week this week. And one of the questions we had for you is, and some of our other guests is, what is the most important thing that you've learned from either Greg Koukl or Stand to Reason?
I think the first thing that comes to mind that I've learned from Greg and watching him over the years and hearing him speak is just that you never need to lose your cool in any way in terms of getting frustrated or flustered or angry. No matter what the situation is, if you're engaged in a conversation with someone, even if you don't like the way it's going or if they're doing something that they shouldn't be doing, you just never need to lose it. Because if you watch Greg, he's always so cool and calm and wise. And I think that just projects. Are you disagreeing with that?
I'm watching him. I'm watching him.
I'm on my best behavior.
On air and in person. And so I think that's really, it's really inspiring to see because you see a confident wisdom. And so much comes through from just your tone and your attitude when you're engaging with other people. And so I think that's been very instructing, I think, for me to see, for a lot of people to see just how much different it is to engage with someone when you have that calm confidence in what you're talking about.
Yeah, that's good. That's good. The other question we have, and this one is a little bit more fun, I think, is can you tell?
Yeah, that was a bummer one.
This one. Well, you know, we've been talking with the individuals, and you know, they've learned a lot through Stand to Reason, which is wonderful. but no one has answered this question, and that is,
Oh boy.
what's one thing about maybe Greg Koukl that the rest of us wouldn't know? We might not know about him. Do you have an
Well,
insight into
I don't know
this
if you're
man?
looking for some dirt. I don't have dirt,
Okay.
but I have something that's meaningful to me
Okay.
in terms of how he has impacted me and my ministry.
Okay.
And it goes back a little bit to what he asked about earlier, which is, how did we first meet? And it goes back to CIA, the Cross-Examined Instructor Academy. And I would say that, Greg, I don't think I've ever actually explicitly said this to you before, but I think you, more than anyone else in my life, have been the encouragement that I needed to continue speaking as part of my ministry.
Huh.
Because I am someone that never set out to be a speaker. I love writing because as an introvert, that comes very naturally. And I had already published my first book by the time that I came to CIA as an instructor, and we met and everything. But the speaking invitations were starting to come in because once you have a book, that kind of happens. And I thought, I don't know about this. This doesn't seem like me. It doesn't feel natural. But I still got out there and started doing it, and it still didn't feel very natural. And so when I went to CIA as an instructor, the first time I was thinking, well, this is cool. I get to help people who have, a passion for this, who want to do this. But oh my gosh, I'm going to have to give this talk in front of all these very experienced speakers like Greg Koukl and Sean McDowell and Jay Warner Wallace and Frank Turek. I was so intimidated. And after I gave the talk, Greg, I think that was one of the first times we had talked. You kind of pulled me aside and you gave me just such encouraging comments. And, I don't even remember exactly what the words are, but you really seemed to think and believe, or at least you convinced me that you thought that I was a great speaker. And I was just blown away by that. And I remember calling my husband and I was like, Greg Koukl thinks I'm a great speaker. That's crazy. I couldn't even imagine it. And it didn't just stop there. I think that in all these subsequent years that we've been at CIA, anytime you've heard me talk, you have very specifically gone out of your way to give me kind words afterward. And I can't tell you how much that has meant to me because I still, to this day, even though I get up and speak a lot more frequently now, I don't feel like it's really me. It's a lot of emotional effort for me to get up and do it. And so it has meant a lot to me personally, that specific encouragement that you've given me over the years. I don't know that I would have continued to go on and put myself out there if I didn't have the encouragement of knowing that someone that I really admire in this area actually thinks I'm a good speaker.
Well,
so thank you for that.
You're very welcome. You've never shared that with me before. And I mean, I'm just thinking about your presentations. I think you are not to just go over the ground you just explained, but I do think you're an excellent communicator. And whatever limitations you thought you had, you have been overcoming them. And I think you're a good example to other people in your content, your style, and your structure, and your delivery, and all of those things. So it was very genuine, and that puts you in a position to help others who are maybe frustrated in the same way that you were, or lack confidence, but are willing to just step out. And you might recall from the times I teach at CIA about public speaking, sometimes you just have to act confident, even if you don't feel confident, kind of fake it till you make it, because that puts other people at ease, your listeners, and then that puts you at ease too. And then you can focus more on your own material and get absorbed in your material, which you do so well because you know your stuff so well. And I've often said, as others have said, if you want your audience to bleed, so to speak, as a speaker, you have to hemorrhage. In other words, if you want them to care about your view and what you're involved in, you have to really care too. And this is so evident in everything that you do. You care about this material and you care about the people you're speaking to getting it. So it was easy to compliment you, but I'm glad it had a great impact on you. Thanks for sharing that.
Thank you.
And I still feel like I'm faking it till I make it. Like that's just, I don't know if you ever kind of get past that, right? It's like there's this, almost like, I forget what they call it, like an imposter syndrome or something.
Yeah.
Where you know, but you know what you know, and then there's that little bit you don't know yet. And so you're like, okay, Tim, get up there and just, do it. That's good. And I think this also...
And I think it's easy sometimes to think that unless it just comes so easy and natural that maybe you shouldn't be doing it. But that's not necessarily the case. I've had to really think a lot about that fact before. So it is true to this day that every time I get out there and speak, I feel like throwing up right beforehand. By the time I get into it, I'm totally fine. But You
That's
know,
good.
it is what it is,
Mm.
but I feel like, I still continue to get a lot of these invitations. So I'm going to do what God's putting in front of me to the
Awesome.
degree that I can, even if it makes me want to throw up sometimes.
Well, I hope you keep
Yeah.
doing it for a long time. Not the throwing up part, but
Mm.
the what you do
Mm.
so well
Mm.
and what you contribute to the body of Christ. Thanks so much for that.
Natasha, thanks so much for joining us and kind of in the celebration of this 30th anniversary. We really appreciate your time.